You go out and you get yourself a shiny new 3D printer, and of course you want to make things, right? So you download and print a Flexi Dragon just like everybody else does. And then you print a few things from your printer's free online marketplace, and then you think to yourself, I should really just learn to 3D model. I'd love to make these myself. But then it turns out that 3D modeling is hard. I learned how to do basic 3D modeling when I got into 3D printing. I can do like utility stuff to replace broken parts around the home. But what I want to do is make things like this, and this, and this, Mr. Bear Bear. But what I found out is that you have to spend hundreds of hours in a program like Blender or Plasticity just to be able to make a basic model. And then AI came along, and now you can make incredibly detailed and amazing prints. Now there are a lot of online AI-based 3D tools, and most of them suck. And that's why I've teamed up with the folks at Neural4D for this video. In this video, I will show you everything you need to do to make 3D models quickly and easily. First, I'm going to show you how to turn a single photo into a 3D model in just about a single click. I'm going to walk you through using a tool like Claude or Google Veo to make a super accurate model. We're going to use a simple prompt to create a really complex model. And then I'm going to show you the most powerful tool in the Neural arsenal, the chat-based Neural4D 2.0, where you can create and modify a model in a chat interface just like you talk to things like Claude or ChatGPT. And then I'm going to show you how to 3D print all of these. Okay, let's get started. I want to start with this image, which is a tabletop gaming system, and this ugly, awesome sandworm that's on it. I intentionally picked an image that has a complicated background because I just want to show you a quick way to get this ready. What you really want when you're making something into a 3D model is just to have the thing by itself. There's a couple of things you could do here. You could simply crop to the part of the sandworm, but I'm going to show you just a really quick tip, which is not only good for this, but just good in general. I'm going to open up ChatGPT. I'm going to give it this image. I want to give it a little context here. This is my prompt. This is a sandworm from a tabletop gaming system. I need the worm isolated from the image. Give me just the sandworm against a white background. And submit. It's finished, it's perfect. I'm just going to download this PNG file. Now we're going to bring our image into Neural4D and convert it into a 3D model. So I'm just going to click on Image to 3D, and then all I have to do is drag the image in or click here and add the image. And I click Upload, and now it's got my image. And then you can choose the quantity of the versions that it's going to give you. So I'm just going to come here, select 4, so we have 4 different versions. The reason this is important is because when the AI takes the existing model and tries to convert it, it has to guess about a bunch of stuff. And so, for example, we see the front of the image right now, but we don't see the back of the image. And so it's going to use the front to sort of guess what the back is supposed to look like. When we get to MultiView, I'm going to talk to you more about that. So the versions give you a couple of different things to choose from. And if you look over here, you can see that the assets that I've done previously, I did multiple versions of. I'm going to come here to Generate, and I'm going to click on Generate. And then I'm going to let it do its thing. Now we have 4 different versions of this model. The main difference between them is the texturing, because the shape was easier for it to do than like a person or something like that. It mostly varied the texture on each of them. I got this model, which I think looks fantastic. We started with a photo that's basically the front of this model, but it did a really good job at figuring out what the back of this model is supposed to look like, but that does not always happen. So this is to show you the limitations of using a single image. I took this picture of Blastoise, one of my favorite Pokemon, from the back, and it's got to figure out what's on the other side of the model based on just looking at this model. And with the worm, it was kind of easy because it could see the texture and the shape of the worm. But over here, if we turn this if we turn this around, this is not what Blastoise looks like. So that brings us to MultiView. MultiView solves this problem of the modeling system not being able to know what the thing looks like from multiple points of view. The idea with MultiView is to make something like this by giving it a front, a back, a left, a right, a top, and a bottom. When the system has all those different angles, it can put the image together perfectly into a perfect 3D model. It doesn't have to guess about anything. This is one of the things I really like about Neural4D. Not all of the tools have this, and this one works particularly well. Even the tools that do have this, usually it's only 4 views for the MultiView, so you could do like front, back, left, and right. But the problem is often the top of something and the bottom of something are important, especially if you're doing 3D models. So this system gives you front, back, left, right, top, and bottom. Basically everything about a model. In order to make this file in Neural4D, I simply had to use MultiView. At first I had ChatGPT do the front of the figure. I went through a couple of different designs with that, and then I asked it to give me an orthographic view of the model. So the orthographic view is just, again, front, back, left, right, top, bottom. From there, I just separated each of these from the orthographic background the same way I did before with Spaceworm, so I ended up with all of these really detailed files. Then it's just a matter of adding each one of these one at a time to the right place. So that was the front one, there's the back one, the right one, top, and bottom. I'm going to come down here, ask it to give me 3 different versions of this. However, with MultiView, usually there aren't a lot of difference between the different versions, and that's because it's working with really good detail in order to make the entire model. I'm going to just come here and hit Generate. Unsurprisingly, all three of these models look almost exactly alike, and that's because they used really detailed information from every point of view in order to make the model. That kind of similarity is good because it shows you that the MultiView does what it's supposed to do, which is to make a model that has no guesswork from the AI. It's just using the AI to assemble it perfectly so you can use it for 3D printing or gaming or whatever else you want to do with that model. Let me show you how easy it is to 3D print this in color. Now, you're going to need a 3D printer that can do multiple colors, something like the Bamboo P2S or the X2D or the H2C, all of which I've tested. And if you want to see my videos on those, you can find those up here. All I have to do to print this is I come and I click download, and you want to choose the OBJ file, the object file format, because that retains the color information. If you do STL here, you just get the model with no color. As soon as it's imported the file, Bamboo Studio just opens up a dialog box and it shows you over here all the colors that are in the model. Now, if you have something with an AMS system that can do multiple colors, you could even come in here and do 16 colors. It would be really fine color detail. I'm going to leave it at 4 colors and say confirm. I'm going to hit auto here in order to make it stand up properly. I'm going to hit scale, and I just chose 250%. At this point, you would just slice it and print it, and you're done. Now let's talk about the 2 text-based ways in order to make a model in Neural4D. The first one is this straight up text section. You have a dialog box, you type in what you want it to do, and you hit generate. That's all you have to do. The text generation is a little bit limited. You can only do up to 500 characters in order to describe what you want. I'm going to generate it from the limited amount of text that I have, and let's see how it goes. I come over here to the text box. I had ChatGPT help me write the description for what I want, which is basically something like this. I'm going to paste in the prompt, and I'm going to hit generate. I'm going to make sure that texture is on so I get the colors that I described up here in the text. And I'm going to hit generate, and I'm going to make 4 of them. Now, sometimes it works fantastically and you get a model that you want, but then you can't go back through and tweak that model. I'm going to show you in a second how you can tweak those models. What I got back was this model, which is honestly very good for just a little bit of text. There's a couple things I didn't like here, like the lack of detail here on the back of the head, and I thought that this wasn't quite a friendly enough dragon. Which brings us to Neural4D. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to do Neural4D 2.0, and this is where you build things conversationally. So I took that longer prompt linked below, and I put that prompt in here, and it started to render the prompt. And I got this. And because I could use a longer prompt, I got this, which turned into this exact model. And I really liked the way this looked because I thought it looked a little cuter and a little friendlier, which is what I was really going for. However, it generated this with 5 colors and not 4. I wrote this a little wrong, but I still figured it out. This has 5 colors, it needs to have 4. Then I listed the 5 colors that were on the file. I said make the antlers gold and remove the light blue. You cannot dither between the colors because there's no dithering in this 3D printer. So these areas over here were actually another color as far as it was concerned. Now let me show you another example of how Neural4D 2.0 is so powerful. Now I'm going to come here, paste in a prompt to make an astronaut. Really long prompt. You can find it in a link in that file in the description below. And I basically am giving it all the instructions with color and detail and texture of how to make that model that is an astronaut. And I'm simply going to come here and I'm going to hit send. This is how the astronaut came out, and I think it is really terrific. Now let's take a look at the benefit of being able to do conversational modeling inside of the 3D modeling program. So let's say I don't like the spacesuit colors. Change the spacesuit colors to blue and the orange patches on the arms to white. Just a couple of minutes later, and now we have exactly what I wanted, a blue spacesuit with white patches on the arms. But since we can just give it some instructions, let's try one more thing. Okay, so the prompt is place a large American eagle perched on the helmet of the astronaut. Its wings should be outstretched and the look on its face should be steely determination. I've never tried this before. Let's see how this works. I think this is great. The eagle has American flags on its wings. That is terrific. I might leave that. The eagle is too big by probably about 25%, and it's added a face to this mask. I think I love an American. It kind of took that literal, right? Like an American eagle. This would be such a good superhero. 2 more things to do here. I'm going to say remove the flag from the wings. Make the astronaut faceplate opaque. And this is perfect. I still think the eagle is a little bit big, but I'm not going to go back through and change that right now. Partially because I don't even know how big an eagle's body is, but still I like the way this looks. So I'm not going to actually print this one, but let me just show you how easy it would be to print it. I'm going to just choose download. I'm just going to choose object, and I'm going to hit the generate button, and it's going to download. So I've just imported the object file into Bamboo Studio. I'm going to auto arrange it so it's standing on its feet. I'm going to scale it, and for the Bamboo H2C, I'm just going to hit slice. So in the Bamboo H2C, this would take 4 hours and 10 minutes to print. On something like the Snapmaker U1, it would take probably about 3 hours and 45 minutes, something like that, maybe 3.5 hours. Because we were doing these step by step, a lot of these took a lot longer than they needed to. They certainly would take less time when I do it when I'm not teaching people how to do it. But especially with the Neural4D 2.0, I think you can see how quickly it is to go from just a thought to a model. Aside from the amount of time it takes the 3D printer to make something, which is, it is what it is. You're not going to be able to speed that up until faster printers come along. It took me mere minutes minutes to a multicolor model like this adorable little dragon to these terrifying and fearsome space marines. The entire process took between 5 minutes and say 15 minutes, including waiting for all of the things to render. And I've found that Neural4D has consistently made some of the fastest renders in the AI 3D modeling space, and the best. I really, really love what this tool can do. You can go from typing something or taking a picture of something to an actual physical thing in almost no time at all. And if you don't want to 3D print, or if you do want to 3D print, but you also want to do game development or VR development or make physical products to sell, this one tool can do the whole thing. This is Agent Baltic. I am David, and if you can type it, you can do it.